All right, Kamala Harris is out with a new book about her run for president. And right at the very beginning of the book, she reveals that her first choice for vice presidential running mate, boy, is this a slap in the face to Tim Walz. Her first choice for vice presidential running mate was not Tim Walz. It was actually Pete Buttigieg. But Kamala Harris says she ultimately decided not to choose Pete Buttigieg to run with her on her ticket because Pete Buttigieg is gay. When she made this claim in her book, Rachel Maddow, who, by the way, is openly gay, invited Kamala Harris on her show and confronted her about this claim. And this is what Kamala Harris answered. Take a look.
I guess I'd ask you to just elaborate on that a little bit. It's hard to hear.
Yeah.
With you running as, you're the first woman elected vice president. You're a black woman and a South Asian woman elected to that high office, very nearly elected president. To say that he couldn't be on the ticket effectively because he was gay is hard to hear.
No. That's not what I said. That he couldn't be on the ticket because he is gay. My point, as I write in the book, is that I was clear that in 107 days, in one of the most hotly contested elections for president of the United States, against someone like Donald Trump who knows no floor, to be a black woman running for president of the United States and as a vice presidential running mate, a gay man, with the stakes being so high, it made me very sad, but I also realized it would be a real risk. No matter how, I've been an advocate and an ally of the LGBT community my entire life. So it wasn't about any prejudice on my part, but
that
we had such a short period of time, and the stakes were so high. I think Pete is a phenomenal public servant. And I think America is and would be ready for that. But when I had to make that decision with 2 weeks to go, and maybe I was being too cautious, I'll let our friends, we should all talk about that. Maybe I was. But that's the decision I made, and I, as with everything else in the book, I'm being very candid about that.
Yeah.
With a great deal of sadness about also the fact that it might have been a risk.
Okay, first of all, imagine if this were a Republican saying what Kamala Harris just said. Imagine if a Republican went on cable news after having lost the presidential election, and no, it wasn't a hotly contested presidential election. Kamala Harris lost in a landslide to Donald Trump. Imagine if a Republican said, actually, my first choice for vice presidential running mate, I decided against because he was gay. The left's head would explode. They would be screeching and screaming and melting down like the Wicked Witch of the West, calling that Republican a bigot, a hateful, homophobic bigot. And what does Rachel Maddow do? Rachel Maddow, trips over herself saying, oh, an advocate and an ally for LGBTQ cause. That's what Kamala Harris claimed. And Rachel Maddow goes, oh, to say the least. Just imagine if Kamala Harris were a Republican saying the same thing. Listen, here's the thing. Kamala Harris, her answer, she said she didn't disqualify Pete Buttigieg because he's gay, because she's personally prejudiced. She disqualified him. She decided not to choose him because he's gay, because you're prejudiced. She is dripping with disdain for you. That's what she means when she says, I only had 107 days. She didn't have time to contend with the homophobic masses. She didn't have time to re-educate the Christians, the terrible, hateful Christians who hate Pete Buttigieg because he's gay. She's dripping with disdain for you, but she's above board. She's the one who denied a position to a gay man because of his sexual orientation, but she's not prejudiced. The problem is you. Good Lord. How lucky are we that she is not the president of the United States? And by the way, Kamala Harris didn't want to go with a gay guy for vice presidential running mate, so instead she chose this guy. picture Dancing Queen playing in your head because that's the background of this video. Spence, do we have this? Oh, that's right. Oh, YouTube. Good old YouTube will ding us if we... So the funny part of this video, not to have to explain a joke here, is this montage of Tim Walz being the masculine man that he is, of course, juxtaposed against the song Dancing Queen. She chose this Dancing Queen instead of Pete Buttigieg because he's the straightest straight man you can ever imagine. He'll appeal to those rednecks. Uber masculine, that's Tim Walz for you. Of course it is.